That's right, you're gonna hear me roar. That's Katy Perry with Roar there. Another Wednesday is here. Thank you so much for keeping your dial on Joy 99.7 FM. Strong and Sassy. My name is aKorfa. I'm sitting in for your host, Enimwa Enim Ado. My name is aKorfa again. And last Wednesday, I have to say, we started off with a very exciting and interesting conversation talking about why you're not able to go through your New Year's resolutions, basically, why you're not able to stick to these goals. And we had three amazing powerhouses have this conversation with me, and that's Comforto Kran, CEO of Legacy, and also the Executive Director of Springboard Roadshow Foundation. We had Dr. Vanessa Mensah Kabu come in as well, and then Janet Sunkwamil, CEO Janem Salon and Spa. Now, a few takeaways before we move into our conversation for today. And we spoke at length. What stuck with me had to do with put down realistic goals. Now, for instance, if you want to lose weight and be healthy, weight loss is it's one of the topics that I think will always be my go-to. Don't ask me why. Now, be willing to put in the work and know that it won't be an overnight success. It will take time. And then also what stuck with me had to do with find an accountability partner who has your best interests at heart, who will keep tabs on your progress and your milestones. And then also don't be too hard on yourself in setting the goals. So when you face hurdles along the way, you give yourself grace and know that you're human and it doesn't mean you're a failure. You get up and you try again. Then find out the why for setting your goals in the first place. After that, then you apply your how. And then also, as a strong and sassy woman, do well to get your medicals done, your pap smear, your breast cancer screenings, and the rest to be on the safer side. And then we talked about hydrating. Remember the part where we're talking about the fact it's good to hydrate and all of that, but then sometimes they fail to tell you about how you struggle to find a place to ease yourself in town. But yeah, that's just for another day. And then also learn to be patient in order to see the results. Now that really stuck with me because in all the conversations or the pointers that our guests were touching on, it had to do with the fact that it's not rushed. You have to take your time and get the results or before you can see something really happen at the end of it all. And then also anything that doesn't make you grow, that doesn't make you glow and smile shouldn't be tolerated in your space. Now I think I picked that one directly from Janet Sunkwamil. She mentioned that she was smiling all through when she's touching on the fact that if it doesn't make you grow, if it doesn't make you glow or smile, it doesn't have to be in your space. And so we're building onto that. And today we're having a conversation about how to attain excellence. Now, joining me have this conversation is none other than Mrs. Margaret Takyi-Micah. She's the CEO, coach, consultant, and director of a number of businesses. And I'm really very excited. Sometimes you do that, but I apologize. You're welcome, Mrs. Margaret Takyi-Micah. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm glad to meet you for the very first time.
I am glad to meet you too. Yes, because we're having our conversation off air, and you told me the fact that you tune into Joy,
all the time.
Yeah, we're appreciative of that. Thank you so much for being
loyal.
Thank
you for having me.
Thank you so much again. And then also you can also join in the conversation. Sending your thoughts via WhatsApp 055 1111 997. We'll activate the phone lines along the lines as well. Shah's going out to Mirabel Johnson. She says to slow down when I'm speaking. And we're also streaming on our various social media platforms as well, on Facebook and also on our YouTube. So you might want to check out and also join in. If anything jumps at you and you have questions, please send them to our WhatsApp 055 1111 997. Now, we want to begin our conversation, Mrs. Takyi-Micah, and find out, when we say excellence, what are we referring to first off?
Great. I'd like to read a definition.
Let's go ahead.
Excellence is the quality of being outstanding or extremely good.
Okay.
That's an Oxford dictionary. Excellence also means greatness, the very best. And excellence is also a state of quality of excelling or being excellent in everything that you do. That makes it look like a tall list because we are saying we are human. How can we be excellent in everything we do? But we can seek excellence. We can seek excellence in all that we do. I was just telling Mirabel that even when you're cooking your regular jollof, you tell yourself, I'm going to make this the best one.
Mm-hmm.
You've done it a million times, but this one is going to be the best.
Yeah.
Which means you want to go one notch higher than before.
Right.
And I like to refer to a book that I read years ago. And I don't think people refer to it much. But it's called 212 Degrees.
Okay.
The Extra Degree by Sam Parker and Mark Anderson. And the book uses a metaphor. What's the metaphor? The metaphor is that 200 degrees Fahrenheit, water is hot. But 212 degrees, it boils. Somebody will say, what has that got to do with what we're talking about? That extra degree, 1 degree, creates steam.
Okay.
And the steam can cause a locomotive to move. I think in our world, people don't even know what a locomotive looks like. But what it means is that just that 1 extra degree can cause something to move. And that something is a locomotive.
Okay.
And so it's significant to pay attention to it, because it means that if we want to be excellent, it doesn't have to be a whole big thing.
Okay.
But it could be as little as 1 degree. And 1 degree of change can impact the rest of the things you do.
Okay. So since we're going to, be having this conversation for the next 60 minutes, let's also break it down to find out why you think people aren't excellent at what they do. Do you think that at a point in time, they probably don't understand these breakdowns that you've given already? Is that any reason why, sometimes you find someone doing something and then you're like, do you really even know why you're where you are in the first place?
Yeah. Number 1 is lack of self-worth.
Oh.
And lack of self-belief. I often say that if you don't believe in yourself, nobody can believe in you for you. Your partner can't believe in you. Your friends can't believe in you. Your workmates cannot believe in you. You have to believe in you for yourself. And that is key. And you also have to determine that I want to be excellent at what I do. So it could be cleaning a room. Are you excellent at it? Or you just clean the middle and leave the corners? So excellence transcends every area of our lives.
Okay.
And we have to determine through goals. And it doesn't have to be a formal thing, but I believe that when we write our goals, it helps us. Or when we type our goals, it helps us. Because the moment it comes from your mind onto some written form, you are translating it into something more concrete.
Okay.
And so in the last few weeks since the beginning of the year, I've been helping businesses to set goals.
Okay.
And you can set several goals, but one of them is revenue goal, because we all want the money, the goodie.
Yeah, we do.
And then another goal that is important is also about self-development. It could be a goal that an individual will have. And you can also have team goals. You're asking yourself in your business, do you have the right personnel? Do you have the right people with the skills? You may love them, but if they don't have the skills that you need, they cannot perform the job. So it's a question of setting goals, and you need to have a plan. Why do I say you need to have a plan? There's a destination that you want to get to. So if you want to be 1 degree better, 1 step better, you've got to decide.
Okay.
And to decide, it has to be now. You can't say next week. So if somebody's listening to me, I want to say that you need to decide that you're going to make a change now, not tomorrow. In fact, my biggest fear is being right here next year. I don't mean being in multimedia, but being where I am, whether in my business, in my family life, my relationships, being right here next year. And I want to quote a lady called Karen Lam. She says, a year from now, you may have wished you started today.
Okay.
And that is why someone must say that I'm starting today. And it doesn't have to be everything, but one thing that you want to start. And that one thing It has to be determined by you.
By you. So while we're talking about, why we think people aren't excellent at what they do, you touched on self-worth, which has led us to where we are. Now, are there ways to determine excellence? And if they are, mind telling us about it so we can pick a thing or two? Because I think, just as you mentioned from the beginning, you mentioned that it's a tall order, because you start mentioning these things and people ask themselves, will I be able to achieve this at the long run? So how are we able to determine excellence, basically, if you can tell us that?
You have to look at your personal life to start with you.
Okay.
Someone would say that I wish I had higher education, for example, and I want to study something. It could be a formal course which you have to enroll in. It could be a skill that you want to learn, like baking or cooking or whatever. And to start with, you've got to determine, where am I going to get that skill from? Who is going to help me? And how am I going to get there? So that is one thing.
Okay.
Another thing could say that, look, I'm going to change the way I look. And therefore, from now onwards, I'm going to, like you said, weight loss, or I'm going to change the clothes I wear, the colors and stuff like that. So all those things are important, because you have to come to a determination to decide that this is what I want to do. And you have to ask yourself, what is it that I told myself last year that I didn't do?
Okay. One
of the things that I encourage people to do every morning is to have a goal for the day. Plan the day.
Is it different from a to-do list?
It could be different from a to-do list, because a to-do list could be, I want to go to the Makola market, and when I come back, I'm going to cook. And that would be a to-do list.
Okay.
But it could be that at the end of this day, I want to make sure that I've prepared all the meals I want to for the week or for the day. And that would be a goal.
Okay.
So the to-do list will take you to that goal, or will be a part of that goal.
Okay.
Because if you don't have the to-do, you won't achieve the goal.
Let's also then take a look at some of the things you can do to to attain excellence, because we have touched on a few other things that sometimes you need to look within and all of that. But if you decided that I want to attain excellence, I want to be I want to be great, I want to be good at what I'm doing, where do you start from? Like, what's your go-to?
The go-to one, first of all, is depending on I'll break it into a business. For example, if you have a healthcare and you want your healthcare service to be an excellent one, you don't want people waiting for hours before they see a service provider, then it means that you've got to do something about the waiting time. And then you ask yourself, what must I do? Do I need more people to take care of them, or I get them to book in advance so they don't have to sit in queues or stand in queues waiting? So that is an example from a healthcare. From a retail, for example, you have items and you find that a particular item goes very, very fast. And so you want to cash in on that. You've got to have some kind of data or research to let you know how much of this thing can I sell on a weekly, daily basis so that I can stock enough. And if you don't have it, what would be your response, or the response of your team? When I say your response, I mean, if you don't have it in stock, you don't say, we don't have it. But you've got to say that, we have orders coming in, and we would have something. We'll add yours, or we would have something for you. Being positive is important.
Okay. Now, let's take a look at other processes, other strategies. So, for instance, aside looking within yourself, right after that, then what are you looking at? Are you, do you have people you're speaking to ensure that you are getting to that excellent level? What do you do?
One area to look at is mentors.
Okay.
Mentors are very important. I mean, I've been doing what I've been doing for years, but I still have mentors. Mentors can be people who have been where you haven't been, and they can help you. Another area is to join groups, professional groups. It could be faith-based, it could be associations and things like that. And I'm privileged to be patron of a number of them. One of them is professional stroke faith-based, and another one is totally professional, which means that we all need people to help us to get to the next level.
I was going to ask that. Would you be able to attain excellence by yourself? Now, judging from what you said already, that's like impossible. Is that what it is?
Unadvisable. I mean, it's not impossible, but I wouldn't advise that. The reason being that in the Bible they say that iron sharpens iron. So if you see somebody has attained a certain status or excellence and you want to emulate, you've got to ask them to mentor you or to help you, or you pay for coaching services or training, and there are lots of stuff online that you can also get for free.
Let's stay a while longer on mentors. So there are instances where people say that sometimes it's better to know your mentor from afar, because meeting them in person, people have got stories to share. But then again, how then do you approach a mentor first off? And do you necessarily all the time have to meet this person face to face before you can learn something from them? Because I know some people also advise that you can learn from afar, just follow what they do. What would you recommend? What would you advise?
Well, following what they do, a lot of stuff is again available online. I'm very visible online. So if somebody followed me, they would know what to say or what to do or what something like that. But then also, you can also approach people if they're within your sphere. I mean, if you meet them in the workplace, you would say, I'd like you to mentor me. But a lot of mentees expect the mentor to come after them. But the tables have got to turn. If you want to be mentored, you have to go to the mentor, find out what is the times that are available, and present yourself to be mentored. But you want to be mentored, at your convenience. And, that is not ideal for mentorship.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I get where you're coming from. Yeah. I really do. Because then I wanted to find out, because there's sometimes that some mentors, it appears they're not too willing to mentor.
It depends on who you're talking to, because
and the approach too. I think.
Yes, I think it's the approach. I mean, you can't meet somebody in the street and say, "I want you to mentor me." There has to be some kind of breaking of the ice, telling them who you are, what you think your needs are, and wanting to know whether they are willing to help you, and even for how long.
Okay.
It could be for 5 minutes, it could be for 30 minutes, and it could be for days. It depends. And you should also not always expect that the mentor will give you all their time for free. They may love you to bits, but they have other things to do.
Okay.
So that is something that people think that, because you want to mentor me, if I call you at 5 a.m., you should be available. If I call you at midnight, you should be available because I am your mentee. Okay. So you have to set boundaries, know when it's convenient for both parties to meet, and it could be offline and online. I have a story that came to mind when you come. I trained a group of leaders from a well-known organization I wouldn't mention, and then a few years after, I got a call. It was from a man, and he said, "I want you to mentor my wife."
Okay.
And this man arranged with me to set up the meetings for his wife, and he paid for the mentoring sessions. He would drop her off. We met in a location which was neutral, and had sessions to make sure that she could open up and do what she had to do.
Okay.
So sometimes someone will recommend a mentor or mentee to you. It depends on whether you want to use, and of course people have got to gel.
Yes.
Because you may have a style or a way of behaving that may not sit well either with the mentor or mentee.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're still here, strong and sassy on Joy 99.7 FM, joining the conversation. We're talking about how to attain excellence, and we're doing it with Mrs. Margaret Takyi-Micah. You can join in and send your thoughts, send your comments. If you have add-ons, please do so. 055 11 11 997. That's our WhatsApp line. We'll also activate the phone lines pretty shortly, so you can join in. It can also be, something you have learned along the lines of how to attain excellence, something that is working for you that you would like to share. We don't mind. Please call in and do that. But before, we'll go for a quick breather though. But before we do that, let's find out about this thing. It's a very competitive, world out there, and I want to find out, how can one get to the top?
That's an interesting question.
Yes. Or we'll take a breather, and then when we come, we touch on that. Okay. All right. Yeah, we're going for a quick breather. Keep listening. We'll be right back.
Joy 99.7 FM.
All right, welcome back. It's still strong and sassy here on Joy 99.7 FM. We're taking a look at how to attain excellence. And if you're joining in, you're welcome. You can also share your thoughts with us. And if you've got questions as well, Mrs. Margaret Takyi-Micah is here. She will answer your questions. WhatsApp number is 055 1111 997. That's 055 1111 997. Later on as well, phone lines will be activated, so you can call in, ask your questions, and also add on to our conversation. We'll really appreciate it. Now, before we went on the break, I was asking the fact that it's a very competitive world, and how can one get to the top?
There are two areas you want to look at.
Okay.
If you're a career person, you got to ask yourself, what is the top for you? And the things you must do. Sometimes you've got to get more or higher qualifications.
Okay.
But most important, you have to be skilled in what you do. Seek to be the best in what you do. Most people are always waiting to get a wage increase before they put up the best. But your best comes from within, because you are already charting your own course. By being outstanding. Will anybody pick you for being the best in what you do just by looking at you and your output? That is very important. If that is your motivation, you will always go the extra mile. We used to say in my other world, okay plus one. If you always do just what is right and leave it at that, that's not enough. That plus one is what will distinguish you. And then you should also have your eyes on opportunities that are available. And then ask yourself, because most places will have a job role and the requirements. You know how much of it you have and what you don't have. And that is a challenge for women, because research showed that women would have 80-90% of a job role, but they would not apply. If a man had 60, he would apply because he believes he can do better. So we need to build the skills that we need for the roles that we are looking for in the career space.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to business, you have competition, and you can choose to work in an environment that makes you an outstanding.
Okay.
When I say outstanding, if you sell bread, for example, you want to be the best in your neighborhood, because you can't say I'm going to be the best in the world, because how do you reach everybody else in the world? So you start small where you can attain, and then keep building on it.
Okay.
There's a particular bakery, I don't know who's behind it, but I saw them as one spot, and now they are in several locations in Ghana. They obviously have a strategy to spread their wings. So if it's business, you've got to ask yourself, how am I going to improve? And I remember one business said, look, we want to have more locations. I said, ask your customers. You are in location A and it works for you. You want to have location B. What will your customers prefer? Will they prefer you being in Tema or being in Wager? That will help you to make sure that you can be where you can find them.
Okay.
And talking about that, that's why at the beginning of the year or any time we choose to, we must have goals. Because if you don't have goals, you all the thoughts that you have will just be dreams.
Just be dreams.
And you want to translate those dreams into goals. And the reality would mean, for example, you know that this is your current income. If you remain with the same qualification, this is how much you earn no matter where you work. So you've got to make a change. And that change could mean get more skills, get more exposure, and do things with others for others, even without pay. Because when you
without pay.
Exactly. Because when you write your CV, nobody's going to ask you how much you earned doing what you did. What did you do? What was your output? Okay. And your output is what will speak. I remember in a career session in the University of Ghana, one lady said, I helped my mother in a bakery. How do I put that in my CV? So what exactly do you do? She says, I make sure I count the number of loaves, the ingredients needed, make sure we put them all in the tin, bake it at the right time, and send it to market. She's in the whole chain. It's a process. So that is something in managing a bakery, however small, shows that you understand how to make the process work. Okay. You know where the bottlenecks are and how to improve. Because if, for example, you say you're going to churn out your loaves at 6 p.m. every day, you must know how long it will take you to get the yeast to rise and all that kind of stuff. I know this because I was a baker before.
Okay. That's why there are lots of specifics. Okay. Now, for someone who's trying to attain excellence, how do you deal with setbacks? Will you experience setbacks? Because then this is someone who believes that they have done all that's meant to be done. They followed the rules, the strategy, all of that. But then they find themselves not where they want to be. Setbacks have come in. How do you navigate such a situation?
Setbacks are part of life. And if we wanted to live a life without setbacks, we would not improve. But it also gives you an opportunity to step back and re-strategize or reset, as they say. And so one of the things is a mindset change. Because if I failed in a particular enterprise, it doesn't mean that the next one won't work. In fact, even the same enterprise, if I did it differently, it will work. Now, setbacks can make you discouraged. That's where you need to have resources from within and around you. The support system. Support system is key. And the support system doesn't have to be a mentor or somebody far away out of your reach. There are people close by, close to you. And so you need to have that support system. I'll give you an example. Okay. When I was growing in my career and I was learning public presentation skills, when I wanted to practice before a session, I didn't have anybody but my young children. I had the mirror. I would do it in front of the mirror, and I'll do it in front of them. They didn't know what I was doing, but they were just smiling, and that was encouraging enough. Okay. So what I'm saying is that what you might think is not important can be a way of helping you. So your mindset means that you can get support from people higher, lower, or just around you to determine what you can do. And if you look at many successful people, and one that comes to mind is Oprah. She was fired from her first TV job. Who would have thought?
That she'll be the Oprah now.
Exactly. So it means that if you fail, you want to try again. And also you have to stay resilient.
No, before you go to the resilient part, you know the trying again. A lot of people believe that it's just easier said than done, because you've probably put everything you've got into that thing and then it just doesn't work out. Which part of your brain or your mind are you telling to dust yourself off and get back at it? Because I don't think it will just happen. What would you recommend? Because fine, mindset, we agree, but as an individual, is there that one thing that you believe that when you dwell in, say you take your mind to maybe A, B, C, will give you that momentum you need to get back on the horse?
Okay. I don't want to share personal stories here.
Okay.
But what you tell yourself is that in a journey of life, go back 10 years, 5 years, you would find that every significant event, good or bad, would have a point. And you would see that if you did it from that end, you would see a growth. Every time there's a dip, there's also a rise. So when you go down, you will not go down forever. That's why you need a breather.
Okay.
A breather to decide that, look, let me re-look at this thing. Let me rethink this thing. Let me look at my options. Because life happens. And when life happens, are you down and out? So long as you're breathing, you've got to do something. And that something comes from within, your willingness. People can support you, but if you say that I don't want to move on, I've come to the end of it. There are people who have had to take exams several times to get the right certification. And there are people who have also given up.
Okay.
That's where if you have cheerleaders, they help you.
They help you.
And we all need to have people like that.
Good
It doesn't
support
mean
system.
exactly, because some people will always say yes, 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 and there are some people you must avoid. The naysayers, the people who tell you that it won't work, you can never do well, and you tell yourself that if they say it won't work, I say it will work.
Okay, so you touched on resilience, but I'll please hold that thought for a while. But if you're just joining us, this is Strong and Sassy on Joy 99.7 FM. Phone lines have been activated. Give us a call. Share your thoughts. If you've got questions as well, put them through. That's 030-221-6541, or that's 030-221-6541, or you can also send us a WhatsApp 055-1111-997. We'd love to hear your thoughts right here on our conversation on how to attain excellence. I know, so some people are sharing their thoughts on the parts about mentors, but we'll get into that when we're ready to read the messages. But let's get to the resilience part. Let's continue from there. We're talking about a good support system, and then you wanted to share some thoughts on resilience as well. So I was hoping you could go through that.
Yes, in terms of resilience, you find that sometimes you're frustrated, and give yourself the break. It's okay to be frustrated.
But life.
Yes, you're frustrated, but don't stay there. Just don't stay there. I am frustrated today, but tomorrow I pick myself up. Why? Because it's another day. I have breath, and that's where you start thinking about the positive things in your life. And sometimes you have to go to even the mundane things or the little things that I do have food on my table, but I want more or I need more, and therefore there are certain things I must do to make a change.
Right.
And so the resilience will start from yourself, and then your support system will help you, and then you have to adapt and reframe. Adapting meaning that, if you had an expenditure of a certain amount that you don't have anymore, you cannot continue to live at that level because you don't have it. Start afresh. I don't want to use food. I like food use examples, but when I say start afresh, don't. I had an advert about one of the hotels having you have a meal for 300 Ghana cedis,
Okay.
and that's a promotion, right? If you are in that league, great for you. But if you are not, be happy with your kokon and kati. It is a healthy meal, and you can eat it with relish. People will wonder, what else is in it that you're enjoying it so much? That's what I mean by reset, reframing, because it's very important to take what has happened. And these things that happen are also opportunities in disguise. If you've never failed before, hello?
Yeah.
If you've never failed before, you won't even know what success looks like.
Right. Opportunities in disguise.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
I get that. Well, we're still talking about how to attain excellence here on Strong and Sassy on Joy 99.7 FM. Phone lines have been activated. Give us a call 030-221-6541. Join in the conversation. If you have a question, you can call in and ask that question. If you have something to add on, you can also do that. WhatsApp line is also active. Is 055-1111-997. And we're streaming on Facebook, on our YouTube as well. You can check that one out. So we've got a few messages for you, a few questions. So this one says, good evening, I'm enjoying the program here in Domahinko. Says, kindly ask your guest one book which has changed her life. I actually had questions about books that you can recommend for book lovers out there in case they would want to read that in order to, help them on their journey to attain excellence. So I think this just ties in well with that. Yes.
One of the books is what I shared, the 212 degrees. It's a
okay.
book. And
so I think you need to open your ears. So please say that again. The 100 and what?
Wait, I'm coming.
Okay, yeah. So we're looking for the exact name of the book so we can share with you, and you can go out there and get it for yourself. But while you're reading the book too, also reach out to mentors.
Okay. 212 degrees.
212
extra
degrees.
Degree by Sam Parker and Mark Anderson.
Okay, Sam Parker and Mark Anderson.
Yes, I read it years ago. There's another book which is quite topical these days, Atomic Habits by James Clear. I've got his name over there.
Okay.
And there was a book, I didn't get the title, but it was by this gentleman who owns these airlines. What is his name in the UK? Why have I forgotten his name?
Airlines.
Yes, in the UK, millionaire. I'll remember.
Okay.
But
he has a book as well.
yes, and his book says, just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. I bought the book. I was on a flight and I finished reading it to the end and I read it again.
Was that good?
That good. Because it was so simple. It gave you the step by step. It talked about his failures and how he overcame them. He had a learning challenge and that did not stop him from becoming a millionaire.
Okay. Well, those are some books you can also take a look at. And if you're listening and you have more that you could also recommend, we're open to that as well. WhatsApp number is 055-1111-997. Phone lines again, 030-221-6541. Now, there's another one here that says, I am in a financial institution. I really have interest in photography. I'm struggling to combine my corporate life, marriage, kids, and still going out into photography. What would you say to such a person? What would you recommend?
Well, we always say that balance is important. But if what you love is also what is going to give you the money. So you've got to make sure that your photography skills are the best. So if you are at a certain level, you want to get to a pristine position where you can get top-rated clients. You don't have to work so hard, but you still get the money coming in. So you don't want to be another photographer, because we have all become self-styled photographers, isn't it, with our phones. But if you're calling yourself a photographer, make sure you have the skills. Now, talking about the balance, you've got a corporate life, which means you have got regulated time, 9 to 5 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It means your photography gigs must be outside that time. And we have all been moonlighting all our lives. And moonlighting is good because it keeps you sane. But you also remember that at the end of the day, everything else that you have, family is key.
Is key.
When your corporate job goes away, when your business fails, you are left with your family. Now, talking about good books, the good book that I like is also the Bible.
The Bible.
That is the book that tells you everything. And I've been telling a few people in the last few days that when you read Nehemiah, you see that they were working and then they had their swords. They had the people who were doing the work and those who were doing so we don't just pray, we work and we pray. and vice versa. We need to pay attention to that, because in Africa, in Ghana, we pray a lot.
Yeah.
But we also have to work
You also
a
have
lot.
to work a lot. That's so true. I believe the name of the author you're looking for is Richard Branson.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Nick Ampo sends us that one. Thank you very much, Nick.
Thank you
for sharing that one with us. Still strong and sassy here on Joy 99.7 FM. We're still open for messages and phone calls as well. Call us 030-221-6541 or send us a WhatsApp 055 1111 997. So this one is quite a lengthy one. It says, not everyone is willing to mentor. This business world, let's come at her. So this businessman wanting to venture into my small business world approached me to query how it works. I did my bit, which he was pleased with. Now, with familiarities and frequent communication established, I asked this mentor or guide, or this mentor to guide me in terms of going big in investment in the business world. He refused, asking if I have any idea what he has endured to build his business channel. Wow. In fact, he insinuated I wanted the easy way out and how lazy the youth of today are. Yeah, that's silly talk, he says. So regardless of how nice the approach is done, not everyone is willing. And this is, you did not add your name, but thank you very much for sending in your message. It had to do with us talking about mentors and the fact that they really, it's not all of them that are willing to help. And this is he sharing an experience that he had. And this seems like someone who did everything right. He approached well. They had a good, they were familiar with each other. They had a good conversation. And then along the lines, this is me coming to you, helping me to expand. But then he says that I think you're looking for the easy way out.
Yes. The easy way out is usually because you don't want to pay for the service or appreciate that this is knowledge coming from the person. If you want to be spoon-fed, that is what your mentor will tell you. Because, I mean, if they read 10 books, like you're asking me about books, how much of it do you want them to tell you? You've got to go and read them. And if you have questions, you can ask. If you are in the business tight corner and you want to ask questions, you've got to ask. You also have to observe your mentors. I have a mentor. I look at the way the person runs businesses. What he does is that when he starts a new business, he stays with the business until it takes off. He knows all the ups and downs about the business before he moves on to the next one.
Okay.
Now, if you are not willing to study, you want him to tell you that this is what I do, he's not going to tell you because probably he's not even conscious of it. But by observation, this is what this person does to ensure that the business gets on the right footing.
Okay. So while piggybacking on the message we just shared, so with what happened, basically this person didn't get what they were hoping to get. How do you, advise someone to handle such a situation, especially the disappointment that comes with it?
Yeah, this is a disappointment, but that person is not the last person on planet Earth that can help you. Move on to another mentor, because sometimes someone will go with you to a part of the journey, and you've got to continue elsewhere. Let's take a dressmaker. You learn the basics from maybe school. You go and you're an apprentice with someone who is an ace dressmaker. And then you find that at a point they're not able to teach you, not because they don't know, they just have a gift. You've got to find somebody else who is willing to give you a step-by-step guide.
Okay.
So there are different kinds of mentors. Some of them who can give you lay down ways of doing things. Okay. And there are some who would say, just observe me. And if you are willing to pay the price, you then will get what you need from the mentor.
Okay, so the message we read was coming from AC from Tema. So okay. AC ended the message by asking if someone out there who has survived such a process could mentor them. And so I was wondering, Mrs. Margaret Takyi-Micah, would you be willing to mentor?
Well, I'm a well-known mentor.
Yeah.
So if you want me to mentor you, you could find me on all my social media.
And then we have a conversation from there.
From there, yes.
Okay. Now, after you attain excellence, how do you retain it? Can you retain it?
maybe you should say you should.
You should.
You should retain
You
it.
should retain it.
Because why do you attain excellence and drop the ball?
People can't be complacent along the lines.
That's why I went all the way back to that degree thing. It's got to go one step more.
Yeah.
If you're complacent, it will be like your business. You're plateaued. Why don't you do it better? Why don't you do it different? You know, if you're complacent, it means you are happy with the revenue you get. You're happy and everything is. Even if you're happy, do it as a legacy. What do I hand over to the next generation? And that is why I do what I do. I was, in a way, I won't say I was boxed, but I was known in a particular area, which is client success, which has been my life work. But I also know that by my vocation, my exposure, and my business stuff, I've got other talents. Why hoard them? Why keep it? It's like putting water in a bowl and leaving it to go bad, so to speak. So you have to have people who are willing to share.
Okay.
But people's times are valuable, and you've got to be willing to
Absolutely.
pay. People like free. A certain amount of free is good. But pay for the service so that you can get the whole point, the whole thing.
I get what you mean. But do you think in our part of the world, we've got to a point where people understand that they need, at a point in time in their life, they have to pay for some of these services?
You've got to accept it. That's the new world.
That's the new world.
I have a mentor and a friend all the way in Australia.
Oh, wow.
And she loves me to bits. I wish she's listening.
Yeah.
And she has as her goal to help 1,000 women.
Wow.
So it has to be your goal. My goal is small, 100 women. But I found out that even though I'm going after the women, the men are the ones who are interested.
Oh,
Yes.
that's beautiful.
So I changed my story. I said the entrepreneurs. So whether you are male or female,
you know.
Yes.
That's great. Well, we have a caller on the line. Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us. Do you have a question or you have an add-on?
Yeah, I'm calling because you read a message about someone being refused to be mentored. And I only called him because of what Mama said about you are not willing to pay. You see, I have a similar experience, okay, and it had nothing to do with me not willing to pay. Look, I'm doing my own business, okay, and I'm willing to do the hard work to sometimes put my business on hold and do the hard work in terms of learning for this person to teach me. And it was the same thing. You want to charge me? I have no problem. I'm not asking you to give me your money because I know that what is in your head, the experience that you've gathered that you are about to share with me, is valuable more than anything. Okay? And this person, it was a different story. It was just like the same thing. Look, I pleaded with this. He was just saying, Maka, go through it yourself, make your own mistakes, and learn the hard way. That was all. You see, so it's not always about somebody, everybody not willing to do the hard work. Some of us are willing to. You want to charge me? I have no problem. I'll pay. Because I know that it's going to pay off tomorrow. I'm not, regardless. Some of these people, it's just not their thing. And he was point blank. Do it the hard way. When you fail, you will learn yourself. And you start building, you understand. That was just it. And it wasn't as if I can just go and follow. He's not around. The goat team comes in. I'm also, my business has to go on. You understand? So it's not as if, but I was willing. If he was willing, I was willing to make these sacrifices. But hey, this is where we are. You understand? So in this manner, would you should say the person is not willing to do the hard work or is not willing to pay? Some people just don't. They just don't care. They don't care. And when you keep pushing, they will think that you are lazy. And that just like the message said, they will be passing this silly talk. Eat of today, you don't want to do the heavy lifting. But you are not even giving me the opportunity to see whether I'm willing to do. When I'm telling you, I'm saying that look, point me to the right direction. Give me the opportunity, the room. Sometimes to query, I want to make this move. What do you think about it? Can you point me to a different direction? Can you make me see the thing from a different perspective? Some of these things. And the thing you are being lazy and you don't want to do this and you don't want to do that. In this manner, how do you blame me for this?
Dan, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. So,
He had a word that he used. He said, "It's not their thing."
Yeah.
So you got to find the mentor who has the thing that you need.
But aren't people gatekeeping though? Like, aren't some mentors gatekeeping? Like, they just don't want to share what they know or what they have.
But they're not the only mentors. They're not the only mentors.
This is going to be hard.
As they say, "Oh yeah, mentor mukechiri."
Interesting. But then again, so from him, you can tell that people do try. Like, it's and I think they need to end this idea of the youth of today don't want to, because you hear stories where people are willing, people are doing the work, but they just probably aren't meeting the right people.
And I like the way you said the youth of today, because a tag has been put on the youth.
It's
which
bad.
Some of it may be true, some of it may not be. And I don't think it casts across all.
It does not.
I believe that they need guidance. And if you are seeking someone to mentor you, ask them what they are willing to do. Because you should not assume that they will do everything for you. So that someone would say, "I'll point you to the right direction. You want to go into business A or business B, and I recommend B. And that's all I'm going to do with you."
Okay.
You want to find out whether the person wants to go the long haul with you. Don't assume.
But Mrs. Margaret Takyi-Micah, we're wrapping up in 30 seconds. What would you say, finally, before we wrap up?
Excellence can be attained.
It can be attained.
It's not done in one go. It takes time. When I say time, in terms of years, could be in terms of making yourself available. And you should seek excellence. 1 degree, 1 more step, 1 more attitude change, 1 mindset change. And something I forgot to say, remember to have self-care. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you'll be stretched in between all the things that you are interested in doing. And if somebody's out there listening to me, I'm saying that we are at the start of a year. Tell yourself that this year I'm going to be different. I am going to make 1 little change, 1 small change, whether in my personal life, in my business, or in my relationship.
Okay, thank you so much.
And I'm starting today.
And I'm starting today. Thank you very much, Mrs. Margaret Takyi-Micah, CEO, coach, consultant, and director of a number of business. And that is how we wrap up on Strong and Sassy today. Thank you so much for being a part of it. My name is aKorfa, and I starting for Enimwe Enim Ado. The news is up next. Right after that is The Overdrive with Kofi Hayford. Keep listening to Joy 99.7 FM.